Good afternoon and welcome to Lunchtime News on TV1. For the News First team, I'm Nithmini De Silva. Let's start off with a look at the headlines.
Sri Lankan authorities release water from Samanila River to irrigate rice fields. Cabinet approves to purchase electricity from private sector.
අනිවාර්යයෙන්ම අපි මාතර දිස්ත්‍රික්කය, ගාල්ල දිස්ත්‍රික්කය, රත්නපුර දිස්ත්‍රික්කය, හම්බන්තොට දිස්ත්‍රික්කය කියන දිස්ත්‍රික්කවල පූර්ණ වශයෙන් හෝ අර්ධ වශයෙන් පැය 3ක විදුලි කප්පාදුවක් යන්න වෙනවා.
Farmers continue the Satyagraha campaign until water is provided to rice fields. 8 people arrested for unlawfully entering the central bank. One dead in Kandana factory fire. 40 students hospitalized for respiratory issues. Special majority and referendum. Supreme Court delivers determination on 3 private members' bills.
One person has died in a fire that broke out in Kandana. According to police, the fire had broken out at a chemical factory in Kandana.
The police said that the fire broke out at a chemical factory this morning. It was reported that the Gampaha and Negombo Fire Service Departments and the Navy Fire Service Department doused the fire. An employee at the factory who worked as an accountant had died in the blaze. Police say that the victim was a 50-year-old resident of Gane Mulla. Meanwhile, 40 students from a school in Kandana have been admitted to the Ragama hospital after they experienced respiratory difficulties due to the fumes from the fire at a chemical factory in Kandana. Officials at the hospital said that the students who were admitted are in stable condition. The cause of the fire has not yet been revealed.
Sri Lanka police said 8 people were arrested on suspicion of trespassing into the Central Bank of Sri Lanka on Tuesday morning.
A group of members from small and medium-scale entrepreneurs and civil organizations collective gathered near the central bank premises on Tuesday, demanding concessions when repaying leasing installments. The group protested within the central bank premises and the police informed them to leave. The group then left the premises and continued the protest. Security was beefed up around the area. Sri Lanka police arrested the group when they continued to protest near the entrance of the central bank. The arrested group was taken to the Kompanyavidya police station.
The Ceylon Electricity Board said quotations were called to purchase electricity from private power plants. CB General Manager Rohan Senviratna said the Cabinet approved the purchase of electricity from 2 private power plants in Amilipitia and Matara for the national power grid. Attention was drawn to this issue in Parliament today with a statement made by Minister Kanchana Wijesekara regarding the measures taken to release water from the Samanila River.
සමනලව ජලාශයේ ජලය එකරාශී වෙන්නේ විදුලි උත්පාදනය වෙනුවෙන්ම පමණයි. එතකොට කිසිම එකඟ
Water is only collected at the Samanila River Reservoir for power generation. There is no agreement to release water for agriculture or irrigation, but the Ministry of Irrigation initially informed us of a need on the 30th of June for 0.5 MCM per day from the Samanila River power station. That was the agreement with the Department of Water Management. They made another request on the 13th of July to increase the amount. The CB agreed to release 2 MCM per day for 2 days. they made another request on the 17th of July to provide a solution, and we met with officials of the Department of Water Management, the CB and authorities, and an agreement was reached to release 1.4 MCM per day for 7 consecutive days from the 17th to the 24th of July. Thereafter, a request was made to release 0.4 MCM of water on the 26th, 27th, 28th, 29th, 30th and 31st of July. The Irrigation Department had not requested us to release water from the Samanal River till the 30th of June. When they made the request, we released the water. Yesterday, the Cabinet reached a decision based on a proposal to provide relief to the agricultural and irrigation sectors by using the water at full capacity of 3.5 MCM for 3 days from today, while generating power, and to release less than 2.5 MCM for the next 5 days based on the requirement. By doing so, power generation at Samanal River will come to a standstill by the 16th of August. If we have no alternative purchase of electricity, a power cut will have to be implemented in the Matara, Galle, Ratnapura and Hambantota districts for at least 3 hours, 1 hour during the day and 2 hours during the night. So we request that we need to purchase power.
සතියකට ඉස්සෙල්ලා වතුර ඕන කියලා කියන්න බෑ. මේක පුරෝකතනය කරලා කියන්න වෙනවා. එතකොට තමයි අර කියන හදිසි මිලදී ගැනීම වලට යන්න වෙන්නේ.
The water capacity required for agricultural activities in Udawalawa was released from the Samanal River to the Udawalawa reservoir from Tuesday morning. This was following the Satyagraha campaign launched by Ambilipitia farmers for several days.
The release of water from the Samanal River to the Udawalawa reservoir commenced at 2:30 am on Tuesday. A maximum capacity of 42 cubic meters per second is being released. The Ceylon Electricity Board said water is being released into the Udawalawa reservoir, while 120 megawatts is being added to the national grid. The CB said as of Tuesday morning, the total water level of Samanal River reservoir was recorded at 13%. While generating electricity through the Kapugala power plant belonging to the Samanal River reservoir, a certain quantity of water is being released issued to the Udawalawa reservoir by releasing water to the Walave reservoir from Demodara through the Katupat Oya Anikat. The water released from the spill gates of the Samanal River reservoir and its dam will also be released to the Udawalawa reservoir near the Samanal River through the Walave river. The farmers of Ambilipitia say that the Satyagraha will continue until the farmlands receive water from the Samanal River reservoir. Today marks the 16th consecutive day of the Satyagraha, which was launched by the farmers demanding water from the Samanal River to the Udawalawa reservoir. About 40% of 5,000 acres of land have been dried up and destroyed. We ask for water, that is all. We have come to know that some amount of water is being released from the Samanala reservoir, but we are not satisfied with the amount of water that has been released. However, we have not been informed in this regard, nor about when this will be received. However, we do not intend to halt this Satyagraha until our lands receive water.
Many areas have been severely affected due to the arid weather that has affected Sri Lanka. The biggest impact is on farmland.
The people of the Anuradhapura district have suffered a great loss due to the lack of proper rainfall for several months. They are facing severe drinking water crises as they are unable to supply water for their crops. These are farmlands in Tantirimale and Anuradhapura. The other cultivations which were done amidst various difficulties have also been destroyed. The brinjal crops were destroyed because of the drought. We cut all of it and piled it up because there is no use. All crops have been destroyed because of the drought. Wells and tanks have been dried up. We can't give water to animals. We are drawing water from wells. We have nothing to do. The Kurunegala district is also affected due to the arid weather conditions. Around 80 acres of paddy fields in the Malkadueva Kurunegala area are also being destroyed due to the lack of water. Farmers said that they did not receive sufficient water for their crops throughout their harvesting season. We have no harvest to reap. The harvest has reduced. We can't afford to get machines to reap that. And there is no use of us doing it either. We can't get a proper harvest after reaping 1 acre of farmland. There was no rain and we didn't receive fertilizer on time. We'll all have to set these on fire. After waiting a while, we won't be able to work for the next harvesting season. The Hambantota district is also severely affected by the arid weather conditions. The water levels at the Kakatiobada reservoir in Balasmulla is decreasing rapidly. The water level in the reservoir is recorded at 550 acre-feet today. Water is supplied to paddy fields in Tangol and Virakatia through the reservoir. Therefore, many farmlands are at risk of being destroyed. The Disaster Management Centre said people of 6 districts have been severely affected by the severe dry weather that has affected Sri Lanka. The districts are Ratnapura, Trincomalee, Puttalam, Kurunegala, Jaffna and Mannar. 92,731 people belonging to 28,837 families have been affected by the dry weather conditions. The National Water Supply and Drainage Board said that several water supply stations have started to distribute water to certain areas as per a fixed schedule due to the shortage of water in those areas. The main reason for this decision to be reached is the arid weather conditions experienced in Sri Lanka. Anuja Kaluarachi, a director at the National Water Supply and Drainage Board, said that the Thangala water supply station is following a timetable to distribute water and consumers are also provided with water using bowsers. A similar program is in effect in Nikavaratia, Hettipola, Pusalava and Gampulawatta areas.
In a backdrop where the people are severely affected by the dry weather condition, the issues of Aswasuma have not been addressed as of yet. Development Officer Services Union points out that issues have also arisen in the appeals process of Aswasuma.
ආණ්ඩුවේ සහ සමාජ සුබසාධක මණ්ඩලයේ මේ තියෙන බෝලේ පාස් කිරීම නිසා
Because of the passing of blame that is taking place between the government and the Welfare Benefits Board, the appeals process of Aswasuma is facing issues. As of now, there has been a decision that was taken where the divisional secretariats and assistant divisional secretariats union will leave these appeals committees despite having ordered to convene on the 20th of August due to viable written recommendations not being presented to these appeals committees. I ask that this is done properly.
අභියාචනා මොනවද කියලා තෝරගන්න අවස්ථාවක් නැහැ. ඒ නිසා වහාම අභියාචනා කමිටු වලට සලකා බලන්න ඕන කරන ඒ නිර්ණායක ලිඛිතව ඉදිරිපත් කරන්න.
Divi Savya, the second leg of the Divi Savya program to provide much needed school books and stationery items to school children in Sri Lanka. 9th of August, Gampala and Denuwara.
දයි දරුවන්ගේ අනාගතය වෙනුවෙන් දිවි සවිය LOLC ප්‍රජාසත්කාරක මෙහෙවර.
News first with the people.
Supreme Court determines that private members' bills titled Municipal Councils Amendment Act, Urban Councils Amendment Act and Pradeshia Sabha Amendment Act should be passed by a special majority and a referendum. The private members' bills were moved by MP Jan Katagoda.
I wish to inform Parliament that I have received the determination of the Supreme Court in respect of the bill. 3 bills titled Pradeshia Sabha Amendment, Urban Councils Amendment, Municipal Councils Amendments, which were challenged in Supreme Court in terms of Article 121(1) of the Constitution. The Supreme Court had determined that Clause 2 of these 3 bills are inconsistent with Articles 112(1), 82, 83 and 104B of the Constitution, and therefore it is necessary to pass these bills titled Pradesh Sabha Amendment, Urban Council Amendment and Municipal Council Amendments by a special majority in Parliament and approved by the people at a referendum by virtue of the provisions of Articles 83 of the Constitution. I order that determination of the Supreme Court be printed.
I would like to know, according to your announcement, if the government is ready to go for a 2/3 majority and public referendum. The government at any time did not bring this bill forward. The government respects the decisions of the Supreme Court. No, Honourable Speaker, the private members can bring forward anything they want.
In other local news, Sri Lanka police said an extensive investigation was launched into the shooting incident that took place along Marine Drive, Colombo on Monday evening. A senior police officer said that the Bambalapitiya Police HQ will be leading the inquiry.
4 personnel attached to the excise department, including an excise inspector, were arrested by the Sri Lanka police over the shooting that took place in Marine Drive, Bambalapitiya on Monday evening. They were arrested while travelling in a van after opening fire at an SUV. Sri Lanka police also seized the pistol assigned to the excise inspector that was used in the shooting. Sri Lanka police added that an investigation is underway to determine if the excise raid was an official assignment. The probe is being led by the SSP in charge of Colombo South. State Finance Minister Ranjit Siamalapitiya posted on X, formerly known as Twitter, that the Commissioner General of the Excise Department was instructed to investigate the incident and submit a report. On Tuesday morning, the spokesperson of the Excise Department, Additional Commissioner General Kapila Kumarasinghe, said the incident took place during a heroin raid. He said the raid was conducted to arrest an associate of a drug dealer, and when he attempted to flee, shots were fired.
Today is day 7 of the 25th World Scout Jamboree in South Korea. It was reported that evacuations have begun due to the Kunan storm that is headed to the country.
News First Special Representative to the World Scout Jamboree in South Korea, Yasrat Kamalsiri, said the Sri Lankan Scouts, comprising of a team of 177 Scouts, are en route to Dunkok University, which is located 30 kilometers from the capital of Seoul. He says that accommodation for the Scouts have been provided by the Korean authorities. The evacuation in this regard began due to the storm Kanun that is headed towards Korea from northern Japan. News First Special Representative to the World Scout Jamboree in South Korea, Yasrat Kamalsiri, noted that this was the 6th storm that South Korea would be experiencing. The World Scouts Association, alongside Korean authorities, have decided to evacuate the Scouts at the 25th World Scout Jamboree in South Korea in this regard. The Scouts are to be evacuated to public safe buildings in the vicinity of the capital, Seoul.
Be the first to know about the biggest stories as they break. Subscribe to News First English News Alerts. News First, your trusted English news channel.
At least 5 people have been killed in a Russian missile attack on residential buildings in an eastern Ukrainian town. According to the Interior Minister, 4 civilians and an official were killed and 31 people were injured. President Volodymyr Zelensky said there were victims in the attack but did not provide a figure. Rescue efforts were continuing. The eastern Ukrainian town of Pokrovsk lies about 70 kilometers northwest of Donetsk city, which is occupied by Russian forces. Before the war, it had a population of around 60,000 people. Klimenko said the first strike killed 4 civilians and that an official from the emergency services was killed in the second strike. A senior United States diplomat has visited Niger to push coup authorities to restore democratic rule after their overthrow of President Mohamed Bazoum last month. Victoria Nuland, the US's acting Deputy Secretary of State, said on Monday that she held frank and difficult talks with military leader Moussa Salah Obamou and 3 of his colonels in Niger's capital, Niamey. It was the first trip by a US official to the country since the coup on the 26th of July. Nuland said her request to meet with Bazoum and the self-proclaimed head of the military government were denied. In a telephone briefing afterwards with reporters, she offered a grim assessment of her talks with the military leaders. Nuland, however, reaffirmed her country's commitment to a negotiated solution to the conflict. If the coup leaders are willing to return to Niger's constitutional order, Nuland said that the US is prepared to help with that. Early on Monday, the US State Department had confirmed it had made direct contact with the coup leaders and had stressed the need for Bazoum to be reinstated. Military leaders seized power in the landlocked West African country on the 26th of July and detained Bazoum, sparking international condemnation. That's a wrap of the lunchtime news. Join us again at 9 p.m. for primetime news on TV1.